practical on the rise, economic turmoil, we all know what happened, no? At the end, a few months later, they decided to revert that regulation. So there's a lot of ways in which the government can play into how to shape these behaviors, rules, policy standards, regulations, compliance, but at the same time, as Secretary mentioned, we want to impose excessive burden to companies, consumers, or any other private stakeholders in society. We don't want to have a very heavy regulations. We also know that not only for trade, as the Secretary mentioned, also investment correlates with institutional government. So the better regulatory framework we have, the more investors will try to get here companies and the economy can grow again. I think also very important is the regulatory government process to have meaningful opportunity for engagement. Not only with private sector, with regulated parties, but actually with all the stakeholders. And I would say that even you can gain trust when you protect the proper, open, transparent, participatory regulatory process. And it can become a communicational tool. So it's not only about working with private sector companies, but also working with the people. You would know why it's important, why is regulation will protect the law, it's going to protect the environment or any other from solving the other problems. So it's very important that the government also see this as an opportunity, not only for the private sector engagement, but also the public. I also have to say that sometimes regulations are linked to corruption. Why? There are many reasons that we have clarity in institutional responsibility, monitoring, compliance, and we know that in general, the officers are really finding into this and not seeing this as a burden, then we can streamline and have the anti-corruption policy. We can also think about very tight regulation heavy, that there is no only way for very little space for people or companies to overcome the very burden, and most of these ways will be okay, let's grab an officer or something, and that's what also regulatory practices can prevent corruption. I just want to mention a few things just for you to think a little bit more in the issue. There was a law that laid quality standards for bananas. I come from Colombia, we produce a lot of bananas, and they actually was a regulation in the state decided to enforce how the bananas look like in terms of appearance, in terms of information as normal production, future routine, etc. They also measured size, event, fitness, etc. But there was no definition or guidance about what was considered as normal. What was the consequences of this? You want to control, you want to decide what is the good quality, and you only those good quality that are from good quality. So can you imagine a lot of the say so beautiful bananas were just discovered. After several years in 2008, the European Commission then reviewed this term regulation related to quality to combustibles, including the one that related on shape and size. And according to the first release of the Commission, in this era of prices, growing demand makes no sense to throw these products away or destroy them, or the Commissioner says, this is a concrete example of our drive to cut red tape, and I will continue to push on this goes through. It shouldn't be the EU's job to regulate these things. It is far better to leave it to market operators. So no point of regulating this, and there's a lot of good losses because of these regulations. There's also many other initiatives on improving and reducing regulation in Australia in 2021. So from 2023 onwards to Korea, over 1,000 business licenses and permits were repealed. So we don't need to, have over and over regulations or licenses permits. They have a thing on that. In the United States, there's an act, Paperwork Regulation Act reviews to BS or realize exercises they don't have reporting requirements. And it's for the OSHA, the Organization of Health Administration, that were brought up to review the high cost and limited safety impact. There was also those type of regulations. In the European Union, they have what is called the REFIT program, regulatory fitness and performance. So they use RIA and export evaluation to assess what is actually the impact or the consequences that these regulations are bringing. And if they're not really reaching that objective, then they will create a very bad regulation, for example, the new program. In the UK, REFIT challenged the year 2014 over that 3,000 regulations were unused and 800 were scrapped or simplified. There was a many examples here, but then you can see how important, and it's not only because the cost is paid by consumers or producers, it's also putting a heavy burden to the government itself. You have to monitor, you have to make market surveys, you have to report the regulations. There's a regulation that is actually not working, there is not. In Canada, there's also organization initiatives applying RIA. They have a one-for-one rule, so we use one old regulation for every new one. And there's one example nowadays is where there's inspection rules. Similarly, in New Zealand, they have a Resource Management Act that deals some regulations that were not compliant and they assess the cost of having these proportionate costs compared to benefits. Secretary also mentioned NQI. That is why I think it's also important to know that NQI is another powerful tool for the government to use. You can keep consistency, credibility, and credibility, and it's all time-based. You already have a very strong growing NQI in Sri Lanka, so why don't you use it? Very recently, the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, last month, 2025, they published this very interesting report on how regulatory frameworks can be improved to standards measurement and qualification NQI in general. So these are, for example, standards and background regulations to design production, post-production, to other advanced types of authorities and improve regulatory development. You want to identify authorities, and review the burden. You can use all these tools that you already have at hand. For improve not only how regulations are developed, we have done those different before. Just an example, here from Japan, in the electrical safety part, we have a lot of items that work on the regulation, and they're trying to shift from mandatory third-party conformity assessment certifications to self-declaration and supplier declaration that will be less burden. And it was not only an exercise in gratification in a way that's very extremely mandatory requirement of certification. Basically, it was considering the effectiveness of post-market measures and also the sensitivity and the risk of this of these products. Just also mentioned about trade and how to AQI we can facilitate trade. For example, to do social commission agreements. Again, taking this up from the time. Also, public justice and body and body per country are having these assessments, whether it's testing or certification or inspection, that you can have a social recognition and how it's valued in the country legislation. So these conformity compliance models, you can have different levels. You can have competent authority very strong. You basically know the cost for the evaluation or surveillance of these regulations. Third-party agreements, you can have third-party certification models. To direct evaluation as well. The idea is for these consider shifting in a paradigm. So it not only promotes the very strong important regulations, you can think again how to shift behavior in different ways. A voluntary compliance, for example, to education, engagement, communication. You can also assist compliance. You can have programs, we can have crimes awards, we can have directed compliance, working with tools to correct, prevent undesired behavior or promote in a very direct way. Or at the end, there's certain, there's a remaining groups that don't want to comply, so those should be with an iron fist, apply the legislation of the law, enforce those regulations. So we can have this gradual approach basically next year, where you don't have to use the full extent of the law. You can have a private and not different programs because why we are important. And at the end, you have to measure why is WTA or a successful regulatory program. It's a minimum bit of important measure. It's a very compliant. Everybody is trying to put a lot. There's people, and you have to have a commitment at every corner to check if everyone is talking about. Also, there should be preventive information. So we can have these programs we should prevent this on the target we want to promote the entire behavior. Also, a collaborative approach, as I said, this can be a very powerful tool to communicate to motivate people, to be predictable and to be realistic. In general, it's a very collaborative approach. Now we can engage with you to believe the transparency also brings confidence to the people, and again, for me, this is something a very wonderful opportunity for congratulations again, Secretary Minister. I wish you a very exciting workshop. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harrell, for your thought-provoking key material and for sharing the intentions and perspectives of our RIA implementation. Thank you once again.